All right, guys, we are here with Danny, and he is going to be telling us all about how he runs the behind the scenes of some really big businesses and just giving us his insights into what it actually takes to run a successful business. But not only that, like, you've done a lot of really cool things when it comes to like public speaking and like writing. And so I'm just excited for you guys to be able to hear from his perspective. And spoiler alert, he's literally 19 years old. So this should be an inspiration to anybody that's young and wants to start something, or if you're old and you want to start something because you've built something very fast. So regardless of your age, that's super inspirational, and your perspective is going to be incredibly valuable just for anybody that wants to get their feet wet in entrepreneurship or just learn more about it. But give us some context as like who you are and how you actually even got introduced to entrepreneurship. Like, was that always a part of what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so thanks for the intro. I'm happy to be here. So, quick little introduction. Unlike most kids my age who grew up focusing more on playing video games, hanging out with their friends, getting good grades in school, I was very focused on one mission: escaping school. I absolutely hated school. I knew that a job would only lead to more of the same. To me, it felt like slavery. Someone else had to decide what I wanted to do, and all I got in return was, a letter from a teacher, like A, B, C, or, a paycheck. And my dad was working a job, and I saw the kind of lifestyle that he lived, and I'm very grateful he was able to support us. But it's not the kind of life I wanted. You had to get up early, sometimes even work on weekends, because weekends he wanted to spend time with his family, but he had to work because his boss told him it was due on Monday. So as a result, I knew that I had to find a better path. I couldn't be making money the traditional way. Plus, pensions were gone, and this is something I realized later. Obviously, I was like 9 at the time. But pensions are gone, so that doesn't work. And now also with inflation rates, you can't put your money in a savings account because inflation is higher than the savings account. So you really can't be making money the traditional way unless you want to work for the rest of your life. So I had to find some sort of way out. I had to discover a way to achieve financial freedom. I was really looking to achieve freedom. So I really didn't have many friends when I was going through school because I was very focused on my one vision, which was freedom. So every lunch I would just I would listen to all the success gurus, and I was constantly learning about success. And then what happened is I ended up giving a talk about my diet because I was raised raw vegan in my elementary school class towards the end of elementary school. And then my mom filmed it, posted it online, and then someone from a global rally actually reached out, asked me to present there.
Wow.
So
how old were you at the time?
9 years old. So I gave the talk, and someone filmed it, posted it on YouTube, and it went viral, became the most viewed video for that event. And that event was held in like over 450 different cities around the globe with over 2 million attendees total for that event. And my video, the talk was the most viewed video from it. So I realized that I kind of struck gold there. I'm like, this is something I need to continue doing. It created a snowball effect. That was amazing publicity for me. I started getting invited to speak around Canada and then around the US and then even in London. And as I continued the path of being a speaker, I then decided to transition outside of the health field and into success because traveling was expensive, and I really enjoyed public speaking, but I wanted to continue doing it. I had to find a way to make money because we just didn't have the money for me to travel all year round to speak. So I transitioned to the success field, and this was the pivotal moment for me. I started to actually see how successful people handle money, their relationship with money. When they wanted something, they bought it instantly. Their decision making, their time to decide a big purchase was sometimes just seconds. And as I was hanging around successful people, as I was learning the mindset, the relationship they had with money, I started to realize more and more, this is the kind of life that I want. And I thought it was going to be through speaking, through selling from the stage. I continued doing that, but then COVID hit, everything shut down, and I realized I couldn't be relying on one system. I had to find a way to make money online so that I could have the freedom to decide actually when I wanted to travel, and then also so that I was safe from any sort of locational meltdown, any new epidemic or pandemic. And so I was kind of lost in that moment because I tried writing a book, with that time in COVID, school was shut down, I had extra time, I wrote a book, launched it. After all the expenses, I was left with only a couple $1,000 after a few years of work, less than minimum wage total for my time. So I had to find a new way. I knew that there was a system. I saw people doing it, younger than me too. Like there's lots of kids, we all see on social media, a lot of kids, flaunting their money and it's like, is it real? Is it not? Some are fake, some are definitely real. And so I knew that other people were doing it. I just didn't know the path. And then that's when I ran into Ted. And so I started getting mentorship from him. I started learning the path that he discovered from his mentors. And as I just started to refine the process further and further, I discovered that rather than building my own audience, rather than creating content all the time, it's actually a lot less work if I just do the back end of a business. So if I handle the marketing, I handle setting up the automated systems in a business, like the calendars, like the tracking systems, like the CRM systems, like the email automations. If I focus on that work, I have huge leverage on my time. What I can do is with every minute that I focus on setting something up, it will continue to work for me, until the business stops running.
Yeah.
And so with that leverage, I'm able to rapidly increase how much money I make because I'm able to scale a business a lot faster. So I started to just study scaling businesses. So my first attempt at it wasn't very successful, but then as I started to repeat the process further and refine it, learn from my failures, learn from more mentorship, I got it to a point where I'm making $30,000 a month.
Wow.
And I really only need to work like 30 minutes a day.
Yeah. I'm curious. So you mentioned how like school felt like jail to you, which I resonate with that. I was homeschooled. So that's why like when I went to high school, it really like, I was like, what is this? They're forcing you to sit at a desk. You have to ask for permission to go to the bathroom. Like in what world would I want to subject myself to that?
Yeah.
But that's like really interesting because like already at a young age, you're like, I don't want to do this like for the rest of my life. Did you ever like work a job? Because it sounds like you just jumped right into it.
I jumped right into it. Yeah. I guess the hardest or the closest I worked to a minimum wage job was when I was speaking in the health field. I had this recipe book this was my first book. This didn't take as long to create because it was a simple recipe book. And what I did was I would have a booth at these health events that I would speak at. I was like 13 years old at the time. And I knew if I didn't cover the cost of the flight, I wouldn't be able to go to the next health event. I wouldn't be able to speak at the next event. I wasn't getting many sponsorships. I had a few sponsorships, and that was just covering the cost of the flight. And so every person, these were big health events where people would be constantly walking around. Every person that walked past my booth, I had to pitch them on the book, grab their attention, and that's when I learned sales, and that's when I learned the importance of being persuasive, being able to convey your ideas across and the value of a product. And so from that, I was also able to better craft my second book, knowing what people wanted. But yeah, that was super valuable. That was like, those were 2-day events, 8 hours long, and I would do my talk, and then I would just be pitching after, and I would try to sell my book from the stage. And there are events where I'd sell like $1,000 worth of books, and luckily that was enough to cover the cost, and I could go to the next event.
Yeah.
So that's the
awesome.
closest to working a job, I guess.
Yeah, and I know you kind of like touched on like your mentorship and how like that was such like an influential point where you were able to get around people that were doing what you wanted to do. Like first of all, like who were those people? Were you already kind of like far along in speaking and stuff when you met Ted, or were there other people that were big influences on your life?
Yeah, so I did a lot of it, I guess, I was traveling with my mom, and she was, I guess, kind of my speaking coach. So that was my first mentor. But I got very far on my own. Like I was already an international speaker. I already had won an award. I was already on TV, on radio, in magazines. I was broke, but on the surface, I had a lot of success already. But what I really went from after I got the mentorship was in the limelight to like as a content creator, as an influencer, to just behind the scenes, living a life that no one knows about because it's not being posted online. And so I took a big shift. I completely cut out social media because I grew up from such a young age just literally focusing on the followers, focusing on being an influencer. It's all about making content, seeing how people respond. And it becomes like a game in a sense where you post something and then you start to become addicted to how many likes, how many comments you get. And I didn't want to do that anymore. So I transitioned out of that. And then after that, after I got mentorship from Ted, I'm like, this is extremely valuable. I'm able to fast track my success. As a younger individual, I was always telling myself, I can figure this out on my own. I don't need mentors. Mentors constantly talk about how they got mentorship and how it changed their life. And I'm like, that's just a sales tactic. It's all a big fugazi. They're trying to sell you their course, trying to make money.
I feel like that's what everyone thinks.
That's
too.
how they make money, teaching you how to make money. So that's the big joke of the success field. I'll teach you how to become a millionaire. It's $1 million.
Yeah.
So, but once you actually get mentorship, you realize it's so valuable because it's actually less expensive, especially with advertising, than making the mistakes on your own. But with advertising, it's so easy to spend thousands of dollars if you don't know what you're doing. So I started to invest in more and more mentorship. Not all of it was great, but it was still worth it. And as I started to expand, now I'm leveling up my coaching. I'm here in Vegas. I'm going to be meeting Harmozy, Sam Evans. I just got on a call with Ty Lopez a few days ago, getting coaching from him. And so I'm now leveling up the coaches and leveling up my game even further. And then I don't know where I'll go from there because those are like the top guys. But
I mean, they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, I mean, you're spending time with people like Ty Lopez, like Alex Hormozy, like that is insane. And to be 19 and like that's the people you're surrounding yourself with. I would imagine that it's probably somewhat difficult, although the internet makes it easier, to find people that are in your age range that are actually like going to move you forward, because most people at 19 are just, you know, thinking about what they're going to do that weekend, not what they're going to do the next 10 years. And like, so what's that like?
Yeah, I haven't found anyone. I found people that are close to my level. But what I really look for in people my age, and I think this is the same philosophy that the guy who founded Walmart, I forgot what his name was, Sam something. But the guy, maybe it was Sam Walmart, I don't know. But Sam Walmart. The Walmart founder, he would walk into other stores, other people's stores, and he would go with like his executives and everything, and he'd ask them, what do you think of the store? He'd go, it's garbage. Everything's a complete mess. And he'd go, but did you see the kitchen section? He would look for that one gold nugget, that one thing that other people or that other store did really well, and then he'd copy that. And so when you start to do that, when you start to look for that one thing that other people have or that other business has that you can copy, that you can learn from, rather than judging them as a whole and going, this is a disaster, you're able to improve at a much faster rate. So especially with people my age, I don't know, I'm sure there's people that are ahead of me my age, because there always is, but I haven't found anyone like that, so I'm not aware of it. But I've found friends that I can learn maybe one thing from and that I can help them. Like, for example, I got friends where I'm helping them with money and they're helping me with other things. They're helping me with expanding my social life because, I don't really have a social life with people my age. I ended up dropping out of high school, expanding business, and then going back to make friends my age. So that was cool. But I'm very aware also when I'm hanging out with my friends because I know that their mindset isn't toward, like, it's gonna make me poor if I let it rub off on me. And so, but the good news is if you're aware of that, you're able to be very conscious. And when I hear them make an excuse, it actually strengthens my mindset towards success. Because what most people would do is they would then start to use that excuse in their life. But when I hear it from, I guess, a more critical point of view, I go, this sounds ridiculous. Now I'm hearing this from, third person. Sounds like a loser when he says that. I don't want to say that ever. And so I actually learned from what not to do. But in most cases, it's about finding that one thing that person has. And I don't really like to do friendships where there isn't something I can gain because I feel like if I'm not hanging around people that level me up, then I'm only being leveled down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my philosophy behind it.
Yeah, I love that because you can learn from everyone, but you have to kind of be very intentional with how much time you allocate into those friendships. And you can be that person like Ted was for you, where you can then, be the positive influence on the life of somebody who really does want to level up. But even if they're not at your level, as long as they have that desire of I want to improve myself, I think that's the key factor. Because I definitely have friends who they're nowhere near the mindset of someone like you, where they want to just, be ambitious and go and accomplish things, but they do want to, improve themselves. They want to learn something. So I think there's that balance of knowing where the intentions are, where they do want to be versus where they are. But I've found, I'm sure you found this too, that a lot of my friends are just older than me. A lot of them are just a decade older, and because they're closer to that mentality where maybe they worked a job and they were this is not it. They started a business and they kind of like grew from there, because most people I think have to work a job to get to the point where you were already at before working a job of like, I don't want to do this for the next 40, 50 years. So yeah, I think it's like, just like be intentional with who you hang out with. But.
On that note, the amount of messages I had from people in high school, a lot of the cool kids actually, and like, because I went back for grade 12, and so people saw the kind of money I had. I had a brand new Tesla, top of the line performance model. Like,
Was that your first car?
My first car, yeah. I had a lower range version, and then I upgraded to the performance. But yeah, first car was Tesla. And I was telling people when I first came back to school, they're like, because I was driving my parents' car for like a very short period of time, right when I got my license. And they're like, oh, do you have a car? And I'm like, I'm driving my parents' car, but I'm probably going to get a Tesla. And they laughed at me. And then I showed up like a month later with a Tesla. And so they knew it was legit. Yeah. But then people started to ask me questions. They started to wonder about the money I was making. But no one really cares. It's high school. They're focusing on partying, having a good time, hanging out with their friends. The moment university starts, I am flooded with messages of people, mainly guys, who are like asking me, hey, Daniel, I want to find a way to free myself. I don't want to have to go to university. I hate this. I need a way out. It's like, buddy, you had your chance.
Yeah.
High school was the opportunity.
Right.
You kind of missed out. Now you're stuck. You can't focus on business and university at the same time. They're both very demanding.
Yeah.
So anyways, but yeah, people realize until it's too late. And those that are driven, I find I know a lot of people that have the vision, that are driven. But then they get excuses, and it's all about action. If they don't take action, and if they're all about excuses, then they can have desires, but they're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about obviously finding people that are driven, finding people that level you up in some way, even if that's just motivating you. But yeah, my philosophy, and I've never shared this publicly before, but I have very few friends, and I feel like the more successful you are, or the more devoted you are towards your craft, towards business, the less friends you have, because the more picky you are with the people that you have in your life.
Yeah.
And I noticed that if you look at the people with a lot of friends and they have all these friends, they really actually don't have many true friends. They have a lot of acquaintances.
Yeah.
Because they don't really know anyone really well. So my philosophy, and there was, I don't remember the name, but I was listening to a podcast. There was a great philosopher that says, you only have room for 5 close friends, and then a girlfriend takes up 2 of those spots. So you only have, if you have a girlfriend, you have room for 3.
Does family count in that?
No.
No. Okay.
So, and whatever, that's someone else's opinion,
right.
Someone else's rule of thumb. But the idea is very few friends, very good friends, and be very picky with the kind of people you let into your life.
Yeah.
Because it will have a huge impact on your success.
Yeah, your mindset. I think that's incredible advice, especially for anyone in like our age range. But closing question, what is like your advice for somebody who maybe they're in high school trying to figure out what they want to do, like looking at colleges, and there's a lot of pressure on high schoolers to like commit to a college before they even know what they want to do. Yeah. What is your advice to that generation who's just trying to figure out like where to go from high school?
Great question. So very simple. Think about it. AI is advancing at an exponential rate. ChatGPT ended up completely throwing school off. Like, I know because I was in grade 12, and if my English teacher's watching this, thanks for the good grade. That was all ChatGPT. And it's all about obviously how you prompt it, and not everyone is just as good at using it as I am or other people. But you have to realize this is just a taste of what AI is going to do. And once AI starts being used to develop AI, it's game over. The majority of the jobs, the majority of the degrees you're getting at university, by the time you leave university, are going to be useless. So keep that in mind and think about it. Now, yes, trades are still going to be valuable. You're still going to need plumbing. But do you want to be a plumber? Think about it. So think about the profession you might want to go in, and realize that if AI will most likely replace it, or if the income you can make from it isn't going to be enough with rising interest rates, with rising inflation, then you need to make money the non-traditional way. And I think a lot of people are realizing and waking up to the reality that university and college just isn't what it used to be. It doesn't guarantee success. Yes, there's a lot of homeless people without a degree, but there's also a lot of homeless people with degrees. The degree means nothing nowadays. In fact, Google is even hiring people without a degree because people with experience are far better. Degrees, and also like the biggest joke I find is business studies. I find a lot of people in my school are going to business studies, and I feel like that's where the losers hang out. Because why would you want to learn business from someone who's never run a business? If they were running a business successfully, they would not be a college teacher. I guarantee you.
Very true.
Because of the money, and also because you want to know the best business mentors. They're the ones that have made millions and now they're charging for their coaching. It's expensive coaching, but it's less than university. And that's the kind of coaching I've invested in, and I've found fantastic returns. My dad actually went through business school. What does it teach you? How to be a good accountant, right? Or how to be good at managing the numbers. But that's not really that important. You can hire someone to do that on Upwork from the Philippines, for example. Like it doesn't, it's not going to be game changing. It's not going to be life changing. We live in a world where you can outsource almost anything, and it's going to be only easier from here with AI making it even easier. Like you don't even need coders anymore. You can just tell the AI and it will give you all the code you need. So think about it. If you don't make money the traditional way, what is your, the non-traditional way? What's your other option? University? Where's that going to lead you? So you have to first off, I've just been pointing out the problem. Let me give some solutions here. So that's the problem. You have to have a vision for what you want your life. And I was telling my younger brother this actually yesterday, because he's in a similar situation where he's got a lot of friends and they're kind of wasting their time, and so he kind of gets mixed in with that because that's what his friends are doing. And that's why I'm actually kind of looking back on it. I'm like, it was kind of lonely when I was going through high school and I wasn't making friends, but I'm actually very happy because I would have been stuck playing video games throughout that time period and not focused on business. But anyways, so I told him, you need to have a vision of exactly what you want your life to look like by 25. What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of money do you want to be making? Do you want a house? Because most people, when they exit university, they're 25, right? Or 24, 25. They have a degree now. And what else? Some debt. So they're in a really bad place. When I'm 25, I'm going to be set. And so I told him, you got to think about what you want your life to look like at 25. And then once you have that vision, now you're able to work towards that vision. Napoleon Hill said, if you don't have a goal, you're never going to reach it. Because it's like, if you're, let's say you were a pilot of a plane, or let's say you just got into your car and you just started roaming around randomly. And I find a lot of people do this. They go through life rather than, like, life goes through them. They're not even the main character in their own story. You have to be the one actively shaping your own destiny. And so you have to know what you want. So first off, write a vision of what you want your life to look like. Once you've done that in great detail, now you know why you want to make money. Now you know why you should put down that video game and focus on achieving success, because you have the bigger picture. And realize too, if you're entertaining yourself scrolling TikTok, I highly recommend everyone deletes, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat especially. And all the guys out there who think that they're getting girls with their Snapchat streaks, get rid of it. You're simping. You're wasting your time. But more importantly, it's just really bad for the brain. You get hooked on these apps. You're flooding your brain with dopamine, and it's going to learn to crave that dopamine rather than long-term gratification from work. Once you've done that, I highly recommend you look into, and this is one of the things that I think people don't realize, you can make money pretty much, there's infinite ways to make money. Like when I was younger, I think it was right before COVID, I decided, you know what, I'm going to raise money for a foundation. So I started doing that door to door, raised like $1,000 in 2 days. And then I'm like, you know what, I'm going to turn a penny into $1,000. So I took a penny, I started knocking on people's door, traded it for a pen, and then traded it for $2. And then I ended up trading up to where I could actually buy goods and then knock on people's door and then sell them. And then I found that wasn't working, so I shifted my strategy. I'm like, I'm donating a percentage to a foundation, and then boom, I started making sales on these granola bars that I bought at a convenience store. And then I started to level up the kind of money I was making. And so I'm thinking, like, if I'm able to make money from a penny, what excuse do you have? And I was really young at the time. So like, there's really no excuse. Now, I don't recommend that strategy. You want to think long term, but you can make money as a marketer. You can make money. There's actually, I've heard of people that are making money now using, like, they summarize the, for pilots, like I don't know what specifically for pilots, but they have really big textbooks and all the summaries online are just horrible. And so they put it into ChatGPT, get like a 10-page summary, sell it on Amazon for $13. People are making money that way. There's lots of ways to make money. But when you're young, the most valuable thing you can spend your time on is your skills. So develop skills. I don't recommend trading. I don't recommend all of these get rich quick without doing work schemes. You're going to want to put in work because that's going to deliver the best, most consistent results. So what I personally do is the best skill I've learned is marketing and sales. I think everyone, and I'm getting my friends on this too, I think everyone my age should get into sales because sales skills are the foundation for how to be a good CEO, how to run your own business, how to start your own company. If you're good at sales, you can sell anything, you can have your own business. With just that skill, you can find people to sell anywhere, but if you don't know how to sell them, it's pointless. So learn sales. That's the one skill I think everyone, and if you're introverted especially, you need to practice this. The number one advice I can give to people is, I went a bit of a ramble here, but you have to learn sales. It's an extremely valuable skill.
That's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal note to end on. But before we end, one question, because you mentioned the vision for 25. What is your short summary of your vision for when you're 25?
It's kind of personal.
Okay. The big picture.
Big picture, I definitely want to be in a place where I want to start traveling more because I've kind of been in my same location. But definitely, I probably want to be thinking about, kids at that point because I'll have my life set up for that. And then I wrote down a massive list actually. I did this last week of everything I want my girl to look like because North America is horrible right now. And so
I have been told to do that. That is a really powerful exercise.
So it's a good thing, but it's narrowed down now my options to 0.
Yeah.
And I showed my friend, my high school friend, the list. He started reading it halfway. Just dropped my phone. He's like, "You're not finding this girl anywhere. She doesn't exist."
Oh, geez.
So I wrote down this massive, and I went into very fine detail. And even things like I don't want my girl vaping. Mm-hmm. That already cuts my options in half. So it's definitely going to be tough, but I need to find that person because that's the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's probably my biggest challenge. Other than that, I have a nice car. Maybe get more nice cars. I don't know about buying a home. Maybe I'd want to build a home. Mm-hmm. But I think that time will tell as far as location. Time will tell as far as whether I own a home or whether I'm renting a home. I don't really care about that. But what really matters is the people I'm with and the money I'm making. So I have those goals set down.
That's phenomenal. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I learned a ton, so I know everybody else did too. But phenomenal. Just your mindset and everything, there's so much value to take away from that. So I really appreciate you just taking the time and sharing that.
Awesome, yeah.
Awesome. All right, that's a wrap.